IVF update of the day. This is Mo, by the way. Hey, Momo. You probably see him a lot. So yesterday, I had like 5 prescriptions called in to the Walmart pharmacy. Not like the major stem prescriptions, but just some like supplemental stuff that they give you. And I feel like people don't really talk about like all the different medications for IVF ahead of time. So what I picked up yesterday was Claritin. I guess the antihistamines help when you're on them long term, like meaning for about a month before your cycle and going into it. I had been taking Claritin already. But the antihistamines help to make sure that your body doesn't reject the embryo. Also, they put me on a baby aspirin, low dose naltrexone. I had 2 different antibiotics that'll be used at 2 different times. And these are just like supplemental preventative things. And then I'm on a prenatal vitamin, and I'm on the CoQ10 ubiquinol, which is the active form of CoQ10, which really helps with egg quality. And I started taking that about 6 weeks before I had any of my labs done. And my AMH came out to be 5.34, which is pretty high. So I don't know if that has anything to do with the ubiquinol, or if it's just because I have tubal factor infertility with normal hormones, if that's just like a typical number that I would have had already. But that's where we're at. And then this morning I spent a good bit of time looking into our travel accommodations, because we are using a travel clinic. I don't know if anyone's heard of CNY Fertility, but they prioritize affordable IVF transfers. If you want like super specialized care, maybe a more personal clinic might be better, but I've had really good experiences with CNY so far. I'm using they have smaller remote clinics throughout the country where they do like your monitoring and your baseline labs, and most of them do like IUI and like the smaller fertility treatments, but their actual embryology labs with the IVF and stuff, they only have in Florida, Colorado, and New York. So I have family in New York. Florida was our first choice for the actual retrieval and transfer, but they are on quite the waiting list. And I have some family in Buffalo, New York, so we're going to travel to Buffalo for our retrieval and transfer. And even with the traveling, CNY was still the best option for us. Again, we have tubal factor infertility, so it's a mechanical it's a mechanical issue rather than a chemical issue with hormones. So an IVF doesn't use your fallopian tubes. So we're in a pretty good situation as far as all of the infertility issues go. But this morning I spent some time looking at comparing rates between a flight, and we considered doing a rental car just for comfort, or I've been wanting to upgrade from my Tiguan to an Atlas, so we considered also just going ahead and doing that because my Tiguan's paid off. So all morning I figured out the travel situation. We ended up we're just going to use my mom's. She's got a brand new nice vehicle that we're going to drive up to Buffalo, which saves us even more money. But that's just another thing to consider when you are using a travel clinic. Everything just seems to be working out well for us in the way that we have it set up. I also wanted to consider flying the flexibility that you need for your retrieval and transfer. Your dates aren't really set in stone. You kind of have to follow your monitoring schedule, and then once you do your trigger shot, you have like 36 hours to get from where you're at to where you need to be for your retrieval and transfer. So I wanted the flexibility of driving and then also traveling with medications. I'm really not sure yet if we're going to need to bring the syringes and injectable medications. I think we do, because even after we get done with the initial stems, I'm pretty sure that we're still going to need like progesterone injections to support the transfer. Again, like I'll find out more about this as we get like deeper into the monitoring and see how my body responds to all of the medications. And that's also the nature of IVF that you may or may not know about. You'll get your initial labs done. You'll have all of your numbers. You'll know your AMH, your hormones, and everything. And then they'll customize a protocol for you. And your protocol is your list of medications. Like, how strong do you need your injections to be? The major injection is your follicle stimulating hormone. And mine's going to be a little bit lower because my AMH is already high. But then as you go through monitoring, they'll also adjust your protocol. So if you start off with 200 nanograms of follicle stimulating hormone, it may go up or down just based on how your ovaries react. And then also your trigger time and your retrieval, all of that is like done in real time. So it makes it kind of difficult, especially when you're traveling, to like set up travel plans and hotels and stuff. And you can book flights that have flexible flight changes. And Buffalo, New York doesn't usually book up as far as their hotels go. So I think we have one in mind that we're going to use already. But these are all just things to consider in your initial weeks of like setting up and planning for your cycle. So that's where we're at right now. Again, I'm doing my protein and electrolytes. Yesterday I did some of the prenatal workouts, which were super gentle. I'm kind of thinking I can amp it up just a little bit for a little bit longer. I'm usually pretty big on working out. I did just finish graduate school, which cut into my workout time, and the whole last year of graduate school, I put on about 10 pounds. So the plan was to knock that off right away, but since we went straight into the IVF cycle, I'm kind of adjusting plans. Everything's working in real time at this point. And weight loss is not my main goal right now when we're going into this IVF cycle. I want to be as healthy as possible. I don't want to put my body into any kind of shock from like hard workouts and weight loss. But I have been really tired since returning from vacation. So I boiled a bunch of eggs ahead of time. I also had some dried turkey sausage sticks, vegetables, and some cheese cubes. I love this Havarti dill. But high protein, I have my electrolyte drinks, and that's about all I can do for now. Try to get some rest and relaxation, plan out as much as possible ahead of time, and look forward to the road ahead.